Ladies and gentlemen, normally I would have been attending this year's A4S Summit in St James's Palace, so I cannot thank you enough for your time in coming together again this year in suitable Zoom mode and responding with the urgency that the crisis we are currently experiencing demands. This dreadful pandemic has laid bare the devastating impact global threats can pose to human and economic well-being. However, in the face of this, in all my many, albeit virtual, contacts with individuals in the business community over the last 9 months, I have seen that this crisis has also galvanized a far greater willingness to recognize that the recovery from the impact that the pandemic has had and is having on lives and livelihoods has to be structured in a way that rapidly builds a genuinely resilient, sustainable and decarbonized future. The actions we take or fail to take now will most certainly define our future and that of generations to come. After, I hate to say, very nearly 40 years of trying to raise awareness of the need to take corrective action, I believe strongly that this really is a moment of reset. We have come together at this A4S Summit and at all the meetings you have held during the year to find ways we can prevent and hopefully reverse the devastating impacts which human-induced climate change and conventional industrial activities have had and are having on nature, which is being destroyed at an unprecedented rate, affecting the life-sustaining systems on which we all depend. This, ladies and gentlemen, is precisely why I established A4S 16 years ago. So you will perhaps forgive me for feeling that it has taken far too long to see the action on the ground from you all that is so desperately needed. And I mean desperately needed. At the end of last year, with the assistance of the World Economic Forum, I launched something called the Sustainable Markets Initiative. In recent months, the pressure to use this reset moment to take swift and immediate action to create a more sustainable and inclusive future has grown, thereby opening up a window of opportunity which we must seize. Now, I'm glad to say that my Sustainable Markets Initiative has been able to harness the talents of many people and organizations, and I am very much hoping this may include yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, to increase this pressure. The critical situation we face has suddenly brought real momentum to the task of reversing climate change and using all the mechanisms at our disposal in our organizations and in the structures in which we work, be they business, capital markets or regulation. To accelerate these crucial efforts, earlier this year, through the Sustainable Markets Initiative, I called for a form of Marshall Plan for nature, people and planet to advance a green recovery and set the course for a sustainable future rooted in a new circular bioeconomic model with nature and people at its heart. Today, if I may, I would just like to focus on 5 areas where, as leaders from across the finance and accounting community, you have a unique and vital role to play. Firstly, in helping businesses reduce greenhouse gas emissions and accelerate their decarbonization journey. To assist in achieving this goal, businesses can look to set a science-based target and agree on an absolute reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. Over 1,000 companies have committed to a science-based target, and it is encouraging to see that the pandemic hasn't slowed down the number of businesses signing up to targets such as net zero. Accountants, through their financial expertise, stakeholder and change management skills, have a really crucial role to play in helping businesses build a positive case for committing to and, more importantly, to achieving these ambitious targets. For those businesses that are not ready to commit to a science-based target, accountants can help them in the initial steps of their decarbonization journey by helping them measure and report on their greenhouse gas emissions. Secondly, in enabling better decision-making in boardrooms by embedding climate change risk into business strategy. The physical risks arising from climate change and biodiversity losses can have a major impact on the physical assets of the businesses and disrupt supply chains and logistics. Sustainability factors must be embedded at every stage, from strategy to operations. CFOs and accounting professionals are best placed to analyze the risks affecting financial performance and growth and connect the dots between the chair, CEO, and other professionals setting the company direction. Thirdly, bridging the disclosure gap between what is being demanded of companies and what they are actively reporting by adopting the World Economic Forum's IBC Common Metrics Framework, which draws on widely adopted sustainability reporting standards while also enhancing disclosure. Now, as you will know far better than I, a key part of accountancy is the mantra that what gets measured gets done. The pathway to achieving ambitious goals in decarbonisation and biodiversity protection is first to implement appropriate KPIs and metrics that are easily understandable, comparable, timely, and fairly represented. Accountants and CFOs can lead the change in the businesses they work with to encourage the adoption of metric frameworks carry the same expectations into their supply chains. Encouragingly, we are also seeing governments and regulators looking to play their part. New Zealand was the first country to bring in rules to mandate TCFD disclosures, and the UK has also announced its intention to mandate TCFD. It will be the responsibility of accountants and CFOs of businesses to execute TCFD and provide high-quality disclosures for the benefit of other stakeholders. However, ladies and gentlemen, now is the time to go beyond compliance and reporting. If your business is already performing its role related to current standards, it would help to consider other measures that will elevate your company from compliant to a leader in relation to sustainability. For example, aligning executive compensation with sustainability metrics and performance goals, investing in expert knowledge and new technologies and R&D that support your overall company's performance in ESG, climate change, and decarbonisation. Fourthly, communicating a fair and accurate ESG narrative to the market and investors, backed by high-quality financial and non-financial data. Research on recent investor surveys suggests ESG information has never been more important, with most investors signalling a move to a more disciplined and rigorous approach to evaluating companies' non-financial performance. There are increased demands from investors to understand a company's ESG strategy and progress, and it is more common to see CFOs articulating the company's ESG story to the market and seeing equal prominence of financial and non-financial data. Accountants have a responsibility to ensure fair representation of key financial, non-financial data and the ESG narrative, and help businesses avoid taking the path of greenwashing. Fifthly, and finally, you'll be glad to hear, nurturing the next generation of talent to be more sustainable and focused on long-term value. Through their leadership roles, accountants and CFOs have a unique opportunity to demonstrate leadership while nurturing and shaping the next generation of talent in organizations. My encouragement to these leaders, for what it is worth, is to help them create an environment whereby the next generation of talent can feel empowered and be adequately skilled to proactively tackle areas of sustainability and drive positive change starting now. Ladies and gentlemen, achieving a sustainable future is the growth story of our time and can in fact fuel our post-pandemic recovery in a way that pays dividends for decades to come. But we will only realize these dividends if we act now. This is why, after all, I originally established A4S and now my Sustainable Markets Initiative and called for a great reset earlier this year. So now is the time for unprecedented acceleration and concerted action on the ground, not just around the table. So I can only pray, ladies and gentlemen, that with your crucial expertise, you will join us in this most urgent of tasks.